Melvin Smalls, aka Dragon, was best friends with the legendary troublemaker DMX and was arguably the X's right-hand man. Many say that Dragon would have never made it without DMX, and that he owed his entire career to him, which Drag has agreed with. But where did he fit in? Where did he start, and where did he go? 3 albums, a gold certification, and a bond of brotherhood. Today we're gonna be chronicling the years of Drag On. Let's get started.
Well, I mean, you know, I'm straight out of the Bronx. I'm one of the best rappers in the Bronx, period. I spit fire. I mean, you know, I'm the grimiest from Double R. Everybody know that.
Ruff Ryders Entertainment was founded way back in the 80s by brothers Joaquin and Darren Dean alongside their sister Siobhan. The company initially managed the Locks, consisting of Jadakiss, Sheek Louch, and Styles P, and also managed DMX. When DMX co-signed with Def Jam, the trio officially founded the label and signed on several more acts. One of the core principles of their label was the concept that all of the signees were considered part of the Ruff Ryders family, and the original artists on the label were part of a hip-hop collective by the same name. Ruff Ryders is credited as having launched the careers of several artists, including Cassidy, Eve, The Locks, as well as its individual members. At the time, most of the production for the label was handled by Dean's shared nephew, who went by the name Swiss Beats and eventually went on to become a rapper in his own right.
Beats the monster, right now you in the lab. I got Cassie the problem in the building.
Melvin Smalls was born in the late 70s in New York. He had a rough life growing up in the Bronx, and from time to time he would sleep on trains and rooftops if he had nowhere else to stay. A lot of people know what it feels like to have nothing, but a lot of people don't know what it feels like to have nothing and nobody. It's a difference. You ain't got shit, and when you need something, there's nobody there but you. You got no choice but to die or dig yourself out of it. Despite the hard hand of cards that Melvin was dealt, he persevered through it all with the love for music. He started writing when he was around 8 years old, but it wasn't until he was around 17 that a fateful encounter changed his life forever. The year was around 1996, and at the time he was basically homeless. A friend brought him to Powerhouse Studio in Yonkers to meet a rapper, although he had no idea which rapper it was. Upon arriving at the studio, he met the Powerhouse underground rapper DMX, who was still being managed by the Ryders at the time, although he had not yet taken off the way that he would have by 1998. This was a time in hip-hop when you had to show your worth by spitting bars. And before he knew it, Drag On was battling it out with DMX. Of course, DMX annihilated Melvin, but Drag On kept coming at him no matter what X responded with. His scrappiness and perseverance impressed the legendary rapper, and by the end of the meeting he had put the stamp of approval on Smalls. Drag On was officially born. He was there at the studio, and they told me to rap, and they told him to rap. Next thing I knew, it turned into a battle. Of course, I lost the battle, but he respected me because I kept coming at him. X used to battle like 10 people by himself and literally make them stop one by one. For me, being 17 and not really knowing I was in a battle until towards the end, I just kept coming at him, and he felt my hunger and felt my pain. He was the one that put the stamp on me. I'm not going to front, I want this little dude right here. That's how I became Ruff Ryders.
Well, you know, I was on 125th Street, you know, in Harlem hustling and stuff like that, right. and you know, word got back around to D and all that. You know, like yo, it's a little kid from the Bronx. He in Harlem right now, but he from the Bronx. He's spitting, going crazy. I was doing a bunch of auditionings, you know, like a bunch of little rap contests, winning them shits. Right. First place, so it was getting back to him. So he said, yo, Drag, listen, you know, he had came through and all that, you know, I was actually selling the Locks mixtapes at that time too. Right. Hell yeah, so he came through and bought like 12, 13 of them off me, which was a great payday for me. Yo, D, yo, good looking for that too, my nigga. Well, you know what I mean? He brought me to the studio. Then, I met DMX. We battled a little bit. He won, I lost.
After his lonely years as a teenager and a young adult, Drag-On was ecstatic to have a family. He loved all of the Ruff Ryders, but he shared his closest bond with the rapper that welcomed him in, DMX. The pair considered each other brothers and at the time, looked similar enough to be mistaken for them. Following this fateful meeting, DMX took Drag-On under his wing and helped break him into mainstream success. His first official appearance was on DMX's debut album, It's Dark and Hell is Hot, all the way back in 1998. And this was before Drag-On had even signed to the Ryders. The track was made around 1997 and was titled For My Dogs. Although the song was never released as a single, Drag-On co-wrote it and held his own amongst other more seasoned rappers that also featured. After that achievement, DMX took Drag-On on tour with him on Def Jam Survival of the Illest tour, for which he was the unofficial headliner and breakout star. Drag-On didn't rap on the tour, but served as X's hype man, which ultimately taught him how to perform in front of a crowd.
This is what I do right here, look. See that right there?
Yeah, I see it.
That's fire. This is what I spit right here. Drag-On, 98. Fearless, Ruff Ryders. Ride or die.
It turns out that biding his time and learning all that background information as a hype man really paid off for him, because by the time DMX went on the Hard Knock Live tour around 1999, where he was a headliner, he took Drag-On along with him, this time as a rapper. The pair would perform together on 2 to 3 songs per night, and Drag-On was earning his own creds as he went. Around that time period, Drag-On appeared as the lead artist on a single for the first time, a Ruff Ryders compilation album that came out around 1999. The single that Drag appeared on was titled Down Bottom and featured label mates Juvenile and Swiss Beats. The single performed relatively well, and landing in 5th place on the US Billboard Hot Rap Singles chart and number 43 on the US Billboard Hot R&B Hip Hop Singles chart.
Me and my done lick shots, even done hit cops. But you can't wait till my set drop. Treat you like your mama, give it lit but pop. You don't want my baby drop.
He continued to make waves in the rap industry by featuring on another non-single track with Warren G titled We Got That.
Anything that's dealing with dough, we got that. Cock back, hold it position for combat.
And then after years of hard work and studying his craft, he finally released a single all on his own at the end of that year. The single was the first single to be released from his debut album, which was titled Spit These Bars, with a feature by Swiss Beats. Though the single failed to make an impact on the charts, it remains one of his best loved songs and his #1 most listened to song on Spotify. The following year in 2000, he finally dropped his highly anticipated debut album in the form of Opposite of H2O. The album came out through Interscope and Rough Ryders and was met with both critical and commercial success. On the charts, it performed better than any of his singles, smashing all the way to the 5th place on the US Billboard 200. That's a good start if you ask me, but it only got better from there. In addition, the album skyrocketed in sales, eventually selling over 500,000 copies, earning him a gold certification from the RIAA. Other songs that were really loved by the public on the album were Die For Me, Opposite of H2O, and Ready for War.
My niggas is the niggas that'll ride with me. My niggas is the niggas getting high with me. My niggas is the niggas that'll die with me.
In a strange turn, Drag-On made 2 new attempts around 2001. The first was a feature on a reggae track with Damian Marley. The single was titled It Was Written and was released on Marley's album Halfway Tree. The song is pretty good. It performed well on the reggae chart simply because the track was fire and Drag-On had a good verse on the song. I use different elements in my flow. I mix it. I mix the South in with New York, the West Coast in with New York. There's always gonna be New York in there. I ride to the track. My whole accent might be different on one joint. I already got people thinking that I'm from the dirty South. I'm just trying to make my own category.
Yeah, what up, you heard? This your boy Drag On, aka To The Dash, you heard me? Drag On, but y'all can just call me To The Dash. Don't call me Drag On, you call me To The Dash, alright? Listen.
The second unusual thing he did around 2001 was try his hand at acting, and I must say, he excelled at this attempt. Many rappers at the time were trying their hand at acting, and it was unsurprisingly alongside his stand in Big Brother DMX that he managed to get the role. He landed a minor part in the movie Exit Wounds, which co-starred Steven Seagal and DMX. According to Drag On, DMX would only star in the movie if Drag On was in it. They offered another dude to play his little brother, but he kinda denied the movie unless they put me in it. I still had to audition, but I did kinda good at the audition, with him saying he probably won't film unless I'm in it. And then with me actually doing good at the audition, it actually worked out for me. Drag On loved acting so much that he put music on the back burner for another few years and returned with a much bigger part in the 2003 film Cradle to the Grave. The director for Cradle to the Grave was the same director that had done Exit Wounds, and he liked Smalls so much that despite spending months preparing for his audition, Drag On was granted the part before he had even performed.
You know, where you been the last few years?
Man, I've been in Hollywood. I mean, I was shooting the movies, Exit Wound, I shot Cradle to the Grave. I got another movie coming out, it's called The Hustle. It'll be out like Christmas, you know what I'm saying? I've been working, you know what I'm saying? Just trying to stay out of trouble, man.
Now, despite enjoying the acting scene, Drag On soon returned to his true passion, his music. He returned to the studio to find that Ruff Ryders had taken him off Interscope and moved him to Virgin Records. This really didn't faze him until it came time to drop his second album, Hell and Back. The album received almost no promotion and resulted in incredibly lackluster sales. The album only made it to number 47 on the Billboard 200. Two singles managed to squeeze their way out of the album, titled Bang Bang Boom, which featured Swiss beats, and Put Your Drinks Down. Neither of them managed to chart, so essentially the album was a flop.
Respect my flow, you gon' respect my gangsta. Get stabbed with this motherfucking banger.
It had no promo. Bottom line, it had no marketing. The numbers that I moved on that album was because at that time, albums that dropped the same day, they put them on the same shelf. Kanye West's album The College Dropout dropped the same day. So that's how I was able to move the little 120 or 200 or whatever I moved. It was because everybody was rushing to the store to get that album and then seeing mine and being like, oh, hold up, that's the new Drag On. Let me see. And just off that curiosity is what I think brought the little bit of numbers that it did do. Because the album moved so few units, Drag On was quickly dropped from Virgin Records. At that point in time, he had had enough, and he had officially filed to be released from Ruff Ryders. Despite his close bond with the Ruff Ryders family, he was tired of being in DMX's shadow. X was always his protector and insisting that Drag On would appear on his projects, but Drag On was getting tired of that very quickly. He just wanted to release his own music and grow as an artist, and he felt like he could only truly do that on his own by leaving the label. There were no bad feelings. Me being with the Ruff Ryders was a blessing. At the end of the day, we remained family, and we're all still in contact with each other. We all used the Ruff Ryder as the stepping stool to chase our dreams. DMX had planned to retire around 2003 and was facing a slew of criminal offenses at the time, leaving Drag On to work out his next steps without his mentor. By 2007, he had officially left the Ryders and was far along in the process of founding his own label.
Yeah, but I was always struggling over there, you know what I'm trying to say? Mm-hmm. And I didn't want to keep, you know what I mean? You know, like X was really my protector over there. You know what I'm saying? So like whenever they would shit on me, he would be like, hold on, listen, we're not doing that unless Drag is involved, this, that, and the third. You know what I'm saying? So, you know, And I just got tired of that.
This time he wanted his fans to be involved and for them to know that it was all for them. He celebrated his new beginning by dropping his third studio album, Hood Environment, named after his new label, although it had yet to be officially launched, and the album was released independently. It was released directly to download and performed even worse than hell and back. No singles were released, and as you guessed it, it didn't land on a single chart. After the horrific failure of Hood Environment, Dragon decided to return his focus inward and work on making his label successful. He brought in two New York-bred artists by the name of Terror the Dude and Oz D. Together they began releasing mixtapes to the streets. He started by dropping the mixtape Say Hello to the Bad Guys to some success. However, any further work on his label was slowed down significantly after the birth of his daughter around 2008. Being a father significantly affected his hustle. My push always has been there. My die-hard fans know that I never stopped working. I never left the studio. I was just under a big umbrella that I wasn't underneath anymore. I started my own record label and it's called Hood Environment Entertainment. I also had my daughter too, so I just had to be a good father just to make sure she knows who daddy is, because that was just more important to me at that time. My daughter's like 7 years old now and it just is what it is. I never really stopped. In 2008, he took part in the political piece alongside several of his Ryder family in Cassidy's Stand Up, the Sean Bell tribute song. But other than that, he remained focused on being a father.
Go to sleep as a gremlin and wake up as a goon and be a four-headed monster by the afternoon.
Around 2010, Drag On began dropping mixtapes. He released the Crazies 1 and the Crazies 2 in 2010 and the Crazies 3 around 2011. The mixtapes performed well in the streets and generated enough buzz that he decided to drop another album. The album was to be titled My Life, My Legacy, My Melody and was rumored to be released around April of 2011. However, the album never materialized. After this point, he really just seemed to fade away. He pushed for another comeback around 2015 with the release of his single NRG with Juice.
I'm stuck in my ways, all of my niggas is faded, niggas just stay in lane, my niggas don't play with that paper.
Not Juice WRLD. The abbreviation stood for New Rapper God and displays Dragon spitting fast rhymes in an attempt to be as fast as Eminem. Somehow the track managed to fly under the radar of the notoriously temperamental Eminem, who has been known to start feuds over far less. Now in 2016, Dragon appeared on people's radar once again as he tried to get involved in the beef between Meek Mill and The Game. While taking shots at everyone in Meek Mill's camp, The Game mentioned Dragon in a bar from his diss track 92 Bars. And you can't call yourself dope if you ain't never bag none. I'm the old DMX, you niggas drag on. Now despite the wordplay, which we have to admit is pretty good, Dragon got extremely excited that The Game mentioned him. When asked to rate the bars around 2019, he said the following: I want to give it a 1, but I don't want to give it a 1, because he bigged up the big homie DMX. I remember this, and this line made me upset a little bit. So, since this line touched me, it did something to me, so I gotta give it up. He eventually rated the bar a 4. Now as far as diss tracks go, Dragon dissed The Game in a track called Game Time shortly after.
I'm the old Dr. Dre, you niggas is just a game. Crying on Doctor's Advocate like he a lame. On the gram taking pictures in his drawers. That ain't no real nigga shit at all.
The entire track was a significant attack on the rapper, and he even went so far as to rap over The Game's instrumental, Higher. He concludes the song with a warning: don't ever mention my name, big bruh, unless you're putting some legendary shit on it. Now The Game didn't respond to Drag On, and that's crazy to me because The Game loves getting involved in beef. Maybe he didn't have an album coming out at the time. Now despite Drag On dropping a diss track, he still failed to stay in the spotlight. Now Drag On is still quite active in the music scene and dropped a mixtape in 2017 called Bars on Fire and followed that up with Bars on Fire 2, Bars on Fire 3, and Bars on Fire 4. Despite dropping mixtapes, he hasn't released another album since Hood Environment around 2007. In 2018, he released one of his most successful singles called Wave Hoppers, which remains one of his most listened to songs to date.
You know my team stay poppin'.
You know your team wave hopping.
He released another single with Dirty Diana in 2019 called D-Rose. But the song didn't really take off. Also, his label hasn't really taken off as well, and we haven't seen any artists come out of the label. Aside from the two artists mentioned earlier, Oz D and Dude the Terra, neither of which released any music, we don't know who else was ever signed to the label. Dragon's label was not making major waves in the music industry. His website hoodenvironment.com is still up and active, but seems pretty outdated. The video section of his website only displays 3 of his music videos, namely They Already Mad, What a G Like, and I'm a Giant, which incidentally inspired a TikTok challenge. His artist page is completely blank, and under merchandise he sells lighters. Though no one can deny that Dragon is talented, Dragon was always more of a street artist. DMX helped to bring him into the mainstream and even helped him secure acting gigs, but ultimately the two parted ways. Unfortunately, Dragon was not so successful on his own. Dragon's modern music still appeals to the underground world, but commercially, he just wasn't built for that. Today he still promotes his label and a proud father to his daughter and single to boot. He's open for bookings and shows, and you can catch him on Twitter and Instagram. Dragon gets about 35,000 monthly listeners on Spotify, and his most popular songs on the platform are Niggas Die For Me, Spit These Bars, Wave Hoppers, Opposite of H2O, and Ready For War.
Great Sean on the beat, by the way.
Yeah. Drag Dash. Yeah, nigga, Terry son. Huh? Part 43. Who's counting? Look. They say that nigga spit, the minds hit different. Something like Ken Griffin without a clip missing. They say my bar's dangerous than kids missing. You shark food, I make it look like you been swimming. My little bitch send the addy if he big tricking. My homie stood by the fridge, he had a big kitchen. Compare these new rappers to Big, it's a big difference. I introduced the East to the South before Big Pimpin'. Rough Ryder Cash Money Tour started from my record. So when you mention my name, motherfucker respect it. I put weed in the Dutch and light him from his seat and smoke him down to his knees, he can't fuck with me. You ain't never heard a nigga hold it down with Twister until you heard this nigga. Don't get it twisted, nigga.
That's it for me. It's your boy Ali. What happened to Dragon in your opinion? Let me know down below. New What Happened 2 video dropping next week. Also add me on Instagram at Ali Talks Music. Till next time, peace.